Hi there, it's Karen here. Welcome back to Christmas, and today we're on week 3 of Dee Dee Farago's Don't Freak Out for Christmas challenge. And so this challenge is, we're just making pockets at the moment. I think there's going to be another week of pockets, and then we'll start making things to go in the pockets as far as I'm aware. So this pocket is the pocket number 1, which is this really sweet little one. Looks like an envelope, but it is indeed a pocket. And so there's space here for a little tag, which I think we'll be making later. And there's also space in the side somewhere. I'm not sure which side I glued now. This side. Varies. You can glue either side. And there's a pocket here. And of course you can have something going behind when you glue it down. So that's a nice pocket. It's really pretty. So that's what I'm going to be making first. As you can see, I'm back in my craft room now. We're still in August, but it's cooled off a fair bit, although it's very bright today. But it has cooled off a bit. By the time you see these, it's probably cooling off quite a lot. So I think in my mind, I'm going to be uploading these to go through October, but we'll see how it goes. I don't know how many videos she's going to make, so I've got to just try and go with the flow and see and schedule them so that I can fit them all in. Right, so the first pocket, I'm going to probably make a couple of this pocket because I don't think it'll take too long. Hopefully it won't take too long. So I've cut this one to size because there are two ways to fold it. So I thought if I do one of each, then you'll be able to see what I mean. So we need to start with a piece of cardstock that is 8.5 by 4. And the 8.5 is purely because she made hers with a sheet of cream cardstock, and the size she has is, of course, 8.5 high, this way, widthways, by 11, I think. I think that's standard letter size, as far as I'm aware. Mine's A4, so mine would be 8.25 if I was going to use this, but I don't want to use it. I want to use pretty paper. Where I can, I'm going to be using scrapbook paper rather than cardstock. It just depends on what sort of thing it is and whether it would look better as cardstock. So I'm going to cut this to 8.5 by 4. And this is single-sided, deliberately chosen because then you can see the difference. I'm going to cut it this way because this side is not straight. It's got a bit of a kink in it. And I want it to be 8.5 that way. That side by 4. Gosh, is that even straight on that side? I'm not entirely sure. Is that straight? Yeah, it's just something's not straight. Something don't feel right. Alright, let's see. I think that's okay. Alright. It's this piece I think that's not straight. Useful scraps though for future pockets. Right, so we have our piece. Don't need my trimmer for the rest of this pocket. And then we turn it to make a nice V. This is the trickiest part for me, especially as this cardstock is fairly thick. You need to fold it into the middle on both sides so it meets in a point, which is where we get our sort of envelopey flap look. This might take a little bit of work to get them to be the same height. It's kind of there, I think. Are we there? Well, they're not exactly the same. I'm wondering whether. Actually, I don't think it matters because this bit will be hidden, so we won't see. As long as the point looks like a point, and it does. And we'll we'll glue those down. That's right. We'll glue that down. Got to remember now, it's been a week since I saw it, but I have written it all down for myself, most of it. Aha. As usual, glue needs a little bit of encouragement to get going. Right, so we glue that down. And then we fold that. Let's just see if I fold it about the right place. So we fold that down like that. And then because this is single-sided, we want to fold this up under that flap there. Okay. And we'll squish that down. And this is, I imagine this is a pocket that many people have made before. I'm not sure I have. And all of the pockets that Dee Dee's making are favourites from previous years. I think she's doing a bit of a best of year this year. So all the ones that have had the most views and been the most popular. So there we have it. And now it's just a case of gluing. So we want to leave one side open, so I'm going to leave this side open. So we need to glue across the top and up the side. Let's grab a piece of kitchen towel and just wipe it. Wipe the excess glue. And then we take a little blob of glue, which we put here, so that we just glue down the point. And she did say that in previous years she's put a wax seal here, and I might like to do that. I don't know what she's planning to do this year, but I think when it comes to decorating, it's all bets are off, and I'll do whatever works for me, really. But I think the pocket, I love it. And so we've got a little spot here to pop something, and then we have space for a tag to go in here. And we can put something behind here. So yeah, so that's the first one. Didn't take long, going to do another one. Because this was single-sided, this one I'm going to fold slightly differently to show you can do it. If you've got double-sided cardstock, so it's this way and this way, you can do it slightly differently. So I think I'm going to do, yeah, I'm going to make this flap. So this is the tricky part for me, getting these two pieces into a point and having them more or less, having it kind of central. I think we're kind of there. I mean, I think she was using cardstock. Hers might not have been as thick as this. But Stampin' is not too bad to use because it isn't as thick as some scrapbook papers. So Stampin' paper pad is always a good idea, I think. So then we can glue those flaps down so they don't, because they need to be glued down so it doesn't catch when you're putting your little tag in and in that little pocket there. So glue. and then fold it over. Make your point. Oh, that's not very good. Didn't fold that straight. At all. It needs to be folded the same both sides. It's better. Now, whereas I fold, because this was white on the inside, I folded it up that way, which would be fine, although that's now upside down. But the other way you can do it, to get both patterns, is to fold it back on itself. Like that. So, just have to make sure that's folded straight as well. So we've got that, which is what I did with my prototype, which seems to have turned out a bit wider, but I think that was because I think I used 4.5 wide because that was the piece I had. And you can make it as wide as you like. You can have a long one, as long as the height is in proportion. You can make it bigger. I stayed with the sizes that Dee Dee used, which is 4 by 8.5. But I certainly think 4.5 actually makes quite a nice size, so maybe I should have gone with that. But anyway, I'm just really trying to stick to some extent with what she did. So then we have a pocket which we can glue either way. Again, I'm going to glue it, I think, this side. So let's do that. So I have that open, sorry, that side. So I'm going to glue these two sides. So that's glued. And then we'll just do a nice big blob to hold down the tip of the flap. So, whereas I feel like this might need a little bit of decoration or something up here, though it is quite pretty. I don't know if you can see, it's got quite a subtle pattern, but it is a snowflake pattern on there. This one is very, very patterned, so I don't think I'd need much more than maybe, as before, a wax seal or something on there. So that's pocket number 1. Right, so now we're on pocket number 2. This one was a little more challenging for me because she's using an envelope. Fine, I have envelopes, but the ones she was using were ones she'd bought in, I don't know where she bought them from, but they were already decorated with a Christmas design on. So she was able to just fold them and they're done. That, of course, doesn't work for me because if I use an envelope like something like this, I've then got to go ahead and decorate it because it doesn't look particularly Christmassy or even very decorative. So I had a bit of a think as to how I could do it and make life a little bit easier for myself, because I don't really want to spend loads of time decorating this. It's a very nice little pocket. And also, because her design, when she folded it, was this way up, she did actually, because we're using the flap as a pocket, she was using her pockets upside down. In a previous video, when she'd made this pocket before, she'd had her pockets this way up. But presumably she'd used plain, I don't know how she'd made it, I didn't watch that video. So therefore, but then of course her design would have been upside down, the one she had already on the envelopes. So she's turned hers up this way. I'm not going to do that. I've decided that rather than using an envelope, I'm going to use scrapbook paper. So I did some measuring because, again, my envelopes are smaller than her envelopes anyway. So where she had score lines going here, and gave us measurements for that, that didn't work for this particular envelope. So I've come up with my own score lines, if you wanted to do this and use one of these envelopes, and you have the same size, this is probably a standard size here in the UK, I can give you the score line sizes that I've come up with. It's not completely perfect, you've got a little bit sticking out, but I think that looks fine like that. So I can give you the sizes for that. But her envelope was 9.5 wide by 4 inches. 9.5 by, 9.5 by 4. So I took a piece of scrapbook paper, as I do, and I cut it to 9.5 wide, so that I've got the same width as her envelope. But then I cut it and added on another 1.5 inches for the envelope flap. So then I cut it at 5.5. So 9 by 5.5, and then when you score it, I have to just do an extra score line because she just scores twice down here, but I had to score at 1.5 going across to make my flap. Are you with me so far? I hope you are. So then we have the shape of the pocket of the envelope, but made from scrapbook paper. And I don't really want mine upside down. As I have the option, I'm going to have my pockets at the bottom. And then when you fold it in, it's already decorative. So pretty. I'm thinking maybe some corner rounding, I'm not sure, or snipping the corners. I might do that. But anyway, that's the pocket. So you can either do it with an envelope, which would be the size of hers, or if you're doing it with my envelopes, I have to give you different scoring. So I'll do both. Okay, let's start with some of the scrapbook paper from the Stamperia paper pad that I'm using, this is the background papers from Christmas greetings. So, yeah, they're not super Christmassy in my mind, really and truly, but they're very pretty. And I think I'll probably just add, there's loads of, I've started cutting them out. There are lots of fussy cuts with this kit, with this paper pad. So I have started cutting a few out. So once you start adding the Christmassy pieces to it, it'll start to look a lot more Christmassy, and I'll probably be adding some gold braid or something, or gold, I don't know, but I'll make them look more Christmassy. But let's start. So I need a piece, it's got to be this way, 9 inches. Let's see, hang on. Always challenges me figuring out which way to cut these things. So I need it light, 9 inches long and 5.5 tall. So if I take the height at 5.5, I think that's the way round, that's the orientation, yes. Okay, so we'll cut this at 5.5. No, that's 6.5. Where's 5.5? There it is. 5.5. So that's the height. Take this away. And 9.5 long. 9.5. There we are. So that's our, that doesn't look much like an envelope right now. Hopefully it'll look a bit more like an envelope by the time I've finished. So that's the cutting. Then we need to do some scoring. Right, so I'm going to score it at 1.5. This way. Oh no, hang on. 1.25 of my measurements. Have I written? Yes, 1.25, because I think her envelope was 4.25 high. So to get so I'm doing a 1.25 inch flap, or yeah. Anyway, 5.5 altogether, 1.25 inch flap, not 1.5. But you can do 1.5, but you end up with quite a small pocket, height-wise, altogether. And then we're going to score. So for this one, we're going to score, I've got all my instructions in front of me here, 3 1/8. These are the measurements that Dee Dee gives us, 3 1/8 and 6 3/8. So 1, 2, 3, 6 3/8. That should work. Now, just so as you know, if you want to make the envelope exactly the way she makes hers, and you could probably do it upside down as well. Mine are scored. If you've got the flap at the top, I've scored mine at 2 3/4, and then at 5 3/4. All right, so it's 2 3/4 there, so that's a slightly shorter flap than this one, I think. And the full length of this envelope is 8 5/8, it would appear. This is the length of my envelope, 8 5/8 in inches. So we've got 2 3/4 and then 5 3/4. And then that, or if you can, I'm sorry about that, that's my husband doing some drilling downstairs. I might just pause the video while he's doing that. And then it folds in like that. So you can probably jig it around and make them more even. But that was as close as I could get on this envelope. Right, so now, turn it over because I want this to be on the inside. And we can fold that up for our little interior pocket. And then we can fold, I want to fold this side in. Where's my fold line? It's quite hard to see where the fold line is. Fold like that. Or the score line, should I say. Where is it? Can't actually see the score line. It's such a busy paper. I did score it. There it is. There, yes, I can feel it once I fold it in the right place. I can feel that it's folding easily. So we've ended up with that. Just want to do a little bit more to it, to make it a bit more user-friendly. Now what Dee Dee, I'm just not sure whether I need to really, because this is cardstock and not paper, which of course the envelope is made of paper, so my dilemma really is that whether I should cut these and just do a little V here, because they are very thick when you fold them over. Because this being cardstock, I think I will do that. The first thing I'm going to do is make my flaps into more of a curved, a bit more like the flap of a pocket, of an envelope here. I think on my prototype I went a bit too much in, so I think I might just draw the shape that I want on the flap, if I can find a pencil. I think my husband's pinched one of my pencils. Oh, no, he hasn't. It's here. Right, so I'm going to just do these two pieces together. Then I'm going to just draw my flap shape. Hang on, it's got to be. It doesn't need to be as big a flap, a bigger curve as the one I cut. I just cut that one freehand and I went a bit overboard. So I'm going to just cut this and see how this looks. Make sure I've got them together. Want them to match. Yeah, that's better, isn't it? That looks more like an envelope. It's already looking like an envelope. And I am going to just cut a little, I think I'll use these scissors, a little tiny V here, because it's just too bulky where they're folding. So I'm just going to cut a little tiny notch each side of that fold. And where is it? There. Take that one out, take that one out. Then when you fold it in, it's going to be a lot easier. In fact, shall I? No, I think that will be okay like that. I'm going to do some corner rounding, I think, before I fold too much, because this will struggle. Which one shall I use? I'm going to try it on this one, see which one looks better. Here's the 7-2. This is like the medium size. Is that going to work? Yes, that's quite a nice size. See if I can get that to work on all of them. I can get it to work on this doubled over paper. Yep. And on this one. Right, so now all we need to do is glue down our pockets. So we glue it down that side. Now Dee Dee only glued this end a little bit at this side. I'm entirely sure why, but I'm going to do what she did because it might become clear when we're starting to put things in the pockets, because it's a quite a narrow one. Right. Yeah, because it's curved around a little bit. Maybe it just gives you a little bit more real estate to put your tags in. I'm sure we'll be putting tags in these. And this one we'll glue, I'll do it this way, both sides. Almost feel like it needs a little divot, but I don't think I'm not going to go any further away from the way Dee Dee did them. She didn't do divots in hers, so I'm not going to. No, thumb notch thingy with the circle punch. Tempting though it is. And then this one. And there we have. Let me just pop my pin in my glue. Should be easy, but I'd struggle with that sometimes. Can't always see what I'm doing. Okay, and then we fold it in, and there it is. And then I can have a nice bit of something or other on the front to make it look Christmassy because apart from being red, this isn't the most Christmassy paper I've ever seen. But I'm using the pad, so I'm going to stick with it. It is the Christmas pad, and I can use lots of Christmassy things from the back, from the fussy cuts. So that is pocket number 2. Right, so now we're on pocket 3, and this is the pocket. So I'll just take my little... So we have a pocket here. There'll be a pocket behind here. You can put something behind there. Of course, we have a pocket here and a pocket here. So that's a nice one. I'm just not sure. I'm having a bit of trouble with these pointy bits. I might square them off. Just because it looks a little bit odd to me. But that's just personal opinion. So this was made from a plain piece of cream cardstock, A4, so 8 1/4 by 11 1/2-ish. Not quite sure what the full length is. But of course, Dee Dee was making hers with the size of cardstock that she has, which makes it 8 1/2 high. So I am going to adapt this to do it on scrapbook paper, of course. Which means I'm going to cut, and we need 2 strips, so they'll be 8 1/2 high by 4 inches wide. So it's 4 inches across here, 8 1/2 is the original height, because of course it gets folded up. So I think I shall cut. I shall cut 2 pieces at 4. And then I'll cut them both, or should I cut the whole thing to 8 1/2? No, I think I'll cut them to 2 4-inch wide strips and then cut them both down to 8 1/2. Then I've still got a decent piece at the end. Right, so 1, 2, and then this is a spare piece. I'm sure we'll get to use a lot of these. And then we'll cut them both, see if I can cut them together, at 8 1/2. 8 1/2. There we go. Okay, that's our cutting done. Now, did she cut them? I'm just wondering if she's done them long ways, you know. Because that's going to make it... I'm just not sure I've got this right now. I think that's what she did. Let me just double check. If I fold that up to there. Oh yeah, I think that'll be all right. And the reason I've chosen this is because it's got this pretty colour on the other side, so the pockets will look really pretty because they'll be a different colour. That's why I chose this one. Right, let's see if this works. I hope it does. I think I understood it right, because I don't think she did it. I don't think she cut her pieces this way. I think that would have made it far too big. So yeah, I think it's right. 8 1/2 altogether to start with. Sorry. Got my instructions here, you see, I've written it all down. It's the only way I can do it a week later, is to write everything down and see, so I know what I'm aiming for. Right, so the first thing we have to do, put that aside for a moment, take the top and fold it to the other side to make a nice point here. And then we'll get my bone folder. Okay, we've got that one, and then we have to fold this one the other way. So, in the opposite direction. Just fold it right across. So this piece is at a right angle get a nice sharp point. Okay, and then we glue. That is the right way around, isn't it? Yep, good. Phew. Very easy to doubt yourself when you're doing these things, when somebody else knows what they're doing and you're just trying to follow their instructions. So we're going to glue the flaps down. And the other one. Right, we have these two pieces. And we need our circle punch next. So we take them together and we punch a thumb notch, hopefully in the middle. So they should be together. Then we turn it over and we ink. If you are an inker, which I am, most of the time, don't always, but I think it just defines the edges of the pockets quite nicely. And I'm going to use walnut stain, which is the colour that Dee Dee was also using. So I'm going to ink what would look like the back, but then when the pockets are turned up, that will be the front. I ink that one and this one. And I think I'm also going to ink the edge of my pocket up here. Because once it's glued, it's not, oops, do it the other way. Much point in me doing the back, is there really? Okay, that's that. So we now okie dokie. Right, so we've got to take these, make sure it's level at the bottom, hold this in place, and then you fold the top one to this point here where the diagonal comes to the end. Fold that one to that diagonal point. Is that the diagonal point? Yeah. So try and keep it level. Fold that in place. Make sure they're lined up. And then I'm going to put a little glue. Don't think it matters which side you glue first, but I'm going to glue the front piece to the back, just so that it stays in place. Ugh. I always forget, don't I? I just need to give it a bit of encouragement, even though I've only just used it. Don't see anybody else having this trouble with their glue. Okay. So, bead of glue just along that edge. Make sure it's all lined up. It doesn't look lined up, but no, it looks lined up that side, just not so much on this side. But we can just trim it, and then we'll glue the pocket in place. And then take the other piece and fold that up as well. Roughly to the middle, doesn't really matter where it goes. And then glue that one in place as well. Then all you have to do is make sure this side is glued down. Let's get a wet one and just wipe off the glue. I've got a little bit of something not quite lined up there, but we'll just trim it. It's fine. Okay. And there we have pocket number 3. Where's my pin? There it is. Dropped it? Yep. That's it. That's pocket number 3. So the option is to do it with just plain cardstock and decorate it afterwards, or with some pretty scrapbook paper. It could be done with any scrapbook paper, really. This doesn't even necessarily have to be for Christmas, because you could use this at any time of year. This paper, I think it's quite unusual as a Christmas pad. I know I keep saying this, but I don't feel it's particularly Christmassy. But there we go. It goes well with all the Christmas elements in the main pad, and that would be fine. I'm going to do it on my prototype to see how it looks, but I'm going to try nipping off those 2 points, because I'm not sure I like them. This is just a personal thing. I'm just going to line up so they're both at the same point. And we'll see whether we prefer it. I can always do that at a later date. So that's an option. Not sure at the moment. That looks a bit odd. So I will leave well alone for now. Make my decision when I come to use it. If I don't like it, I'll even take just a tiny bit off. I don't know. But there we are. That's my pockets. We'll just show you the 3 pockets that we've made today. So that's pocket number 3. Pocket number 2 with the envelope option, should you feel so inclined. And then I made 2 of pockets number 1. So this one is folded into under the flap inwards, and then this one was folded backwards so that you can see the reverse side of the paper. And you've got the pocket in there or in there. And in my original one, either would be fine. I've got my pocket on this side. So that's it. I hope you enjoy this. I'm having lots of fun with this. And of course, just making little adjustments according to what works for you, as I'm doing. I've made the envelope one into a scrapbook paper one, and I've put my little pockets at the bottom because I didn't really want them at the top. So yeah, it's all down to personal choice, isn't it? So thank you for joining me for this, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.